In this video, I'll be demonstrating roughly how I go about translating Huangbo's Wanling Record, a section 1 of Wanling Record. First, some disclaimer. I'm not an academic, scholar, or professional translator. I'm also not trained in classical Chinese language. I'm not a Buddhist. I'm definitely not qualified to teach any Buddhist stuff. So this is not a dharma talk. It's just me sharing my translation process of this particular Zen text, Wanling Record. Let's start first with translating the title of the text. Okay, 黄渤断记禅师晚灵录. So first we have Huangbo here. And then we have Zen teacher 断记, which is 断记禅师. Some of you might have noticed 禅师 is actually at the back of 断记. But then in my translation, Zen teacher, which means 禅师, is shifted up to the front. Okay, so it becomes Zen teacher 断记. And 断记, instead of being in front, it gets shifted behind. And this is so that it makes kind of more sense in English. So instead of 断记 Zen teacher, we have Zen teacher 断记. Next we have Wanling Lu, which means Wanling Record. Okay. So the title goes Huangbo Zen teacher 断记 Wanling Record. Let's look at Huangbo first. What does this Huangbo mean? I'm not sure if Huangbo here is referring to the mountain, okay, Huangbo mountain, or referring to the person, okay, the person we call Zen teacher Huangbo. It's not entirely sure what this first Huangbo means. But anyway, I think it's interesting to try to think about why is Zen teacher Huangbo called Huangbo? Because you've got the mountain Huangbo and you've got the Zen teacher Huangbo. Are they related? Okay, the answer is actually yes. Okay, because Zen teacher Huangbo is ordained at Huangbo Mountain at the Fujian Fuzhou area. It's a mountain famous for Buddhist temples, lots of Buddhist monasteries there. And Huangbo supposedly ordained at Wanfu Temple. And he was given the dharma name of Xiyun. Okay. Some of you might have heard about Wanfu Temple because it's quite a famous temple. It actually produced a few monks who went over to Japan to set up the Obaku Zen sect. And the headquarters of Obaku Zen sect in Japan is at Kyoto. And the monastery or the temple of this headquarters is actually called Manpuku-ji or Manpuku Temple. Manpuku actually means Wanfu, okay, in Chinese. So Manpuku-ji is actually a sort of a replication of Wanfu Temple of Huangbo Mountain. And this picture here is actually the Wanfu Temple in Fujian Fuzhou area. Seems like a rather old picture. So I'm not sure if that's how it looks like now. And interestingly, Huangbo later built his temple at Jiufeng Mountain, which is a Jiangxi Hongzhou area. And some of you who are familiar with Chinese Zen history, you will have heard about Hongzhou School, okay, which is the Zen school of Mazu. Most of his dharma operate in this Hongzhou area, and Mazu is actually called the Jiangxi monk, okay, or the Jiangxi Heshang. So Huangbo is actually under Mazu's lineage. And something very interesting about this Jiufeng Mountain. After Huangbo has built his temple at Jiufeng Mountain, he actually renamed the mountain Huangbo Mountain, probably in memory of the mountain he was ordained in at Fujian Fuzhou area, the Huangbo Mountain there. So he actually renamed the mountain he was at to become Huangbo Mountain. So that was probably why he was called Huangbo, okay? Probably in association to this Huangbo Mountain where he built his temple at. Next we have this phrase Zen teacher 断际, okay? 断际禅师. It's actually a title bestowed to Huangbo after his passing. Okay, I think we shouldn't use the word death for such monks. Normally people will use the word passing, but it was only after he died that Huangbo was bestowed this title by the emperor. Okay, Zen teacher 断际. What does 断际 mean? 断际 basically or roughly means destroying boundaries, breaking limits. 断 is destroying or breaking. 际 is boundaries, limits. So that was the title bestowed to him. Finally, we have this Wanling Record, Wanling Lu. So there are basically two texts of sayings attributed to Zen teacher Huangbo. There is Essential Dharma of Mind Transmission, 传心法要, as compiled by Pei Xiu. And there is Wanling Record, but not sure who compiled this record. There are some who say that Wanling Record is also compiled by Pei Xiu, but I think it's unlikely. Later on I'll explain why while we go into the main text. And this text is largely a record of questions and answers between Pei Xiu and Huangbo. I'm not exactly sure where Wanling is, but it's probably the area where Pei Xiu and Huangbo met and talked. Pei Xiu being an official or minister at the time. Maybe Wanling is where Pei Xiu was operating in as an imperial official. And probably that's the area where they met. So that's the title of the text. Now we go into the text itself, section 1 of the text. We've got a nice short section here and nicely punctuated, so it makes it easier to translate. As mentioned earlier, it's a record of question and answer, so I'll split section 1 up into the question part and then the answer part. So translating the question part, we have Pei. Okay, Pei here. It's the surname of Pei Xiu. Okay, that's his family name. And next we have Xianggong, which I've translated as official. Some people will translate this as minister. And as you have noted also, Xianggong is actually behind Pei, but I've translated it, the official, to be placed in front of Pei, so that it makes more English sense. So instead of saying Pei official, I've translated it as official Pei. Something to know about Pei Xianggong or official Pei. Official Pei is how others would have addressed Pei Xiu, instead of how Pei Xiu would have addressed himself. So it's actually an indication that this text is probably not compiled by Pei Xiu. Okay, unlike Essential Dharma of Mind Transmission. For those who are familiar with this text, you will realize that in that text, Pei Xiu referred to himself as just Xiu, which is how Pei Xiu would have addressed himself in the text, or refer to himself in the text. Okay, he will not call himself official Pei. He will not call himself Pei Xiu. He would have referred to himself just as Xiu. But here in this text, it's actually written as Pei Xianggong, official Pei. It's a respectful way of how others would have addressed Pei Xiu. So it's a little something that indicates that this text is probably not compiled by Pei Xiu. Maybe it's compiled by one of his attendant, or compiled by Huangbo's disciples. Okay, those are probable. Something more about Pei Xiu. Later on, he became the prime minister of Emperor Xuanzong. Okay, take note, it's Xuanzong, not Xuanzong. There are two different emperors. This Emperor Xuanzong, which is almost near the end of Tang Dynasty. Okay, very late Tang Dynasty. And Pei Xiu was actually a student of Zen teacher Zongmi also. Then later he became a student of Huangbo. It's polite to say that he's a student. He was a student of these two Zen teachers, but it's also important to know that he was also the patron of these two Zen teachers. Okay, and being a prime minister and a patron of Huangbo, that was probably why Huangbo became famous and was bestowed a title by the emperor. If not for Pei Xiu, probably Huangbo would have remained unknown, and there will be no imperial titles bestowed upon him. And this is a statue of Pei Xiu at Miying Temple. The Miying Temple is actually a temple built by Pei Xiu, built for Zen teacher Wei Shan, or some people will say Gui Shan. Okay, this is his temple, and it was built with the help of Pei Xiu after the great Buddhist persecution. So in memory of Pei Xiu's contribution to this temple, if I'm not wrong, this statue is still standing at Miying Temple. Pei Xiu is a devout Buddhist from a family of devout Buddhists. And it's actually from the illustrious Pei clan of Hetong. Okay, and they were well known for being Buddhists, and also well known for being highly influential in politics, from the Han Dynasty through to Tang Dynasty, which is about 800 years worth of political influence. And just in Tang Dynasty itself, there were 17 members from the Pei clan who served as prime minister. Okay, Pei Xiu was one of these 17. So it's a very powerful clan and patron of Buddhism. And they did much to promote Buddhism in all the various Chinese dynasties. Okay, next we have Wen Shiyue. Okay, asking teacher said, in this mountain of 400-500 people, so probably this is Huangbo's temple in this mountain, and there are probably about 400-500 monks or people in that temple or monastery. How many have attained the Heshang's dharma? Okay, that's the question put forth to Huangbo by official Pei. Seems like one of those standard openers of a conversation. So official Pei just asked, in this mountain of yours, 400-500 people, how many have attained the Heshang's dharma? Okay, Heshang. Who is Heshang? What is Heshang? It's an honorific title of a learned monk, okay, like preceptor, or in Sanskrit it's called Upadhyaya, and in Japanese it's called Osho. So it's a respectful term of address for Huangbo here. Heshang here refers to Huangbo. So instead of saying, how many have attained your dharma, that's disrespectful way of speaking. Pei Xiu say, how many have attained the Heshang's dharma? Can't even mention the name. You can't say, how many have attained Huangbo's dharma? No, you gotta be respectful here. Okay, use a honorific title. How many have attained the Heshang's dharma? Next is this word dharma, fa. Okay, Heshang's dharma, Heshang fa. Dharma in this context, I guess we can say is Buddhist teaching. There are several meanings to dharma, but I think in this context, it's referring to Buddhist teaching. So how many have attained Huangbo's Buddhist teaching? How many have attained the Heshang's Buddhist teaching? And something interesting to take note, okay, about lineage in Buddhism. Generally, people talk about the Buddhist lineage in terms of the Vinaya transmission. Okay, transmitting the Vinaya to disciples. So the preceptor will transmit it to his disciple, ordain them, okay, transmit the Vinaya to them. But interestingly, in Zen, the Zen school of Buddhism, the talk is actually about Dharma transmission, which in a way makes more sense because Buddhism is more about the Dharma. Okay, that's the, you can say, the essence. Vinaya is more to create a conducive environment and a set of code of conduct to help practitioners practice. But what's to be attained is actually the Dharma. And this has implication later on in Song Dynasty, as the imperial court tries to bring different religions like Buddhism under control by converting a lot of the private monasteries into public monasteries, okay, known as Shifang Congling. And Dharma transmission, this notion plays a big role, okay, later on in Shang Dynasty. So after asking the question, in this mountain of 400-500 people, how many have attained the Heshang's dharma? What is Huangbo's reply? So this is Huangbo's reply. I'm going to split it into two parts so that it's easier for me to present it. Let's look at part 1. Xiyun, the teacher said. So in Wanling Record, whenever you see Shi or teacher, it refers to Huangbo. So basically, this is Huangbo said, or Huangbo replied. 得者 the attained 莫测其数 cannot be calculated or cannot be estimated by discrete numbers. Okay, this discrete here is my own addition. Okay, there's a reason why Huangbo is given the posthumous title of Zen teacher 断际, which means breaking boundary or destroying limits. Okay, discrete numbers actually are some sort of boundary. So if out of 400-500 you say, oh, 10 has attained, there's actually a sort of a limit and a boundary set. Okay, discrete numbers actually have boundary, like numbers like 1, 2, 3. There are discrete numbers with a boundary between 1 and 2. But if you really look at it, what is the boundary between the number 1 and 2? Is it 1.5? Or is it 1.1? Where exactly is the boundary? Similarly, Huangbo is saying here is the attained cannot be calculated by discrete numbers. And this is like what his title is saying, breaking boundary, destroying limits. So instead of getting sort of a so-called straight answer, Peixiu actually got this answer from Huangbo. The attained cannot be calculated by discrete numbers. Why so? So he's going to explain why. Because the way is realized in the mind. Tao, way. In this case here, way refers to the way of awakening or the way of Buddhahood for those on the Bodhisattva path. Okay, this is the Tao that's been referred to here. Isn't really the Tao of Taoism, although they use the same Chinese character Tao. But Tao here is more related to the way of awakening or the way of Buddhahood, especially for those on the Bodhisattva path in this context. Okay? Because the way is realized in the mind, how can it be based on said words or numbers? Said words, numbers, 言说 are just 只是 for transforming the ignorant child only. Okay, something interesting here is this character also means ear, 耳朵, okay, eyes, ears, this ear. So initially when I saw this line, I actually thought it's about transforming the child's ignorant covered ear, which seems to make sense. I think it can make some sense, even in this context. But it's more likely that this is actually functioning as sort of an emphasis, especially with in combination with 只是 just only. So it's an emphasis just for transforming the ignorant child only, just for this, okay, merely for this. So this is how is functioning here. It's important to look at what transforming means in this context. From the character Hua. Hua actually has important meaning in Mahayana Buddhism. So Hua, or transforming, is actually related to the conjured transformation city mentioned in Lotus Sutra. Okay, so what is this transformation city about? Okay, it's mentioned that there was a leader guiding a group of people along a dangerous road to try to reach a place of treasure. Okay, place of treasure should be Buddhahood. But along the way, the people said they were exhausted and frightened and couldn't go on anymore. So the leader conjured up a transformation city. Okay, probably something like this. Okay, conjured up a transformation city along the dangerous road to soothe and give them rest temporarily. Okay, this temporarily is important. And after the people were soothed and rested, the leader vanished the transformation city and told the group to go on, saying that the treasure is near. So this is a summary of the story told in Lotus Sutra. And this is related to the ignorant child. Tongmeng, ignorant child, is likely referring to the ignorant child who's upset and crying in the Nirvana Sutra, and is to be soothed and pacified with an empty fist or yellow leaf. So it's like this young child or baby is crying, so you start holding up an empty fist and say, look here, guess what's in my hand? So although you hold up an empty fist, hold out a fist, it's actually empty inside. Okay, and why do you do so? So that you can sort of soothe and pacify the child. Okay, the ignorant child who has not understood or realized the dharma. Yellow leaf is also a way to soothe and pacify the child. Okay, trying to say that, hey, look at this golden leaf. Okay, and then try to make it seem very valuable, and then you pass it to the child to play, when it's actually a piece of yellow leaf you can find, okay, on the ground or somewhere near the trees. So as you can see, empty fist or yellow leaf, they are expedients, just like the temporarily conjured transformation city. Okay, again, temporarily, expedient. So this is what actually Huangbo is saying. So we look at the whole text again. Official pay asking teacher said, in this mountain of 400-500 people, how many have attained the Heshang's dharma? The teacher, Huangbo, said, the attained cannot be calculated by discrete numbers. Why so? Because the way is realized in the mind. How can it be based on said words or numbers? Said words or numbers are just for transforming the ignorant child only. So it seems like Huangbo is impressing upon Pei Xiu that his dharma is not of those dharmas that soothe an ignorant child temporarily from crying. Okay, it's not a temporary dharma, and it's not to just soothe an ignorant child. It's probably trying to say that his dharma go straight to Buddhahood. And they are not dharmas, temporary dharmas that just soothe an ignorant child from crying. Okay, child crying refers to a suffering child, dukkha. So Huangbo seems to be impressing that upon Pei Xiu. So what actually is Huangbo's dharma? That will be something to find out. But my translation of Wanling Record is still work in progress. It will take me a while before I can present section 2, whereby you can find out more about Huangbo's dharma. But if you are interested about Huangbo's dharma, you can check out my translation of Essential Dharma of My Transmission. Okay, this is my translation of this other set of recorded saying of Zen teacher Huangbo. You can read it for free at this Google site. So thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or things you are interested to know about in relation to Huangbo or either of his texts, feel free to leave a comment. Okay, thank you.